Welcome back to Living Survival. My name is Ben, and a few months back I went on a kayak camping trip. We paddled into camp and camped right next to the river, so I went light and fast on that trip and took several products from Therm-A-Rest. I took their UberLite pad, I took their Hyperion 32 degree down sleeping bag, and I also packed in their AirHead light pillow. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, some ultralight options from Therm-A-Rest. So let's start out with the pad that I took on this trip. This is the NeoAir UberLite, very similar to the very popular NeoAir X-Lite. It is a little bit lighter in weight, weighing in at just 8.8 ounces versus the 12 ounces of the NeoAir. So a little bit lighter. It actually has the same dimensions of 20 inches by 72 inches and then 2.5 inches thick. It does, however, also have a little bit less of an R value, coming in at an R value of 2 versus the 3.2 of the X-Lite. Now, neither of these are really considered a winter bag. They're not really considered insulated bags. They do have the X-Therm that has the insulation on it that I've reviewed as well. Now, these pads are specifically made to go light and fast, and that's going to be their general purpose. So they're not going to be quite as comfortable as some of the thicker pads out there. They're not going to be as big as some of the other pads out there, and they're not going to have features such as the higher side tubes, for example, that make pads a little bit heavier. Again, these are just going to be for going light and fast when you don't want to sacrifice any room in your pack and you don't want to sacrifice any weight in your pack. As far as fabric, it is the same crunchy material that the X-Lite has that people have often complained about. Now, their newer models aren't as crunchy as some of those older models, but you still do get kind of that crunch when laying on the pad, so it does make a little bit of noise. Comfort wise, it's not the most comfortable pad in my opinion. Again though, you have to remember that it is a light and fast pad, and for how light and fast it actually is fairly comfortable. If I were going to go car camping, I certainly would take a more comfortable pad. I wasn't really expecting much from this pad, but I did get a decent night's sleep, and I'd say the main problem that I had was slipping off the pad, not so much the comfort of the pad. It didn't get really cold. It got maybe down to about 40. So this and the bag we're going to take a look at in a moment did really well, and I didn't have any issues staying warm. Switching between the UberLite and the X-Lite, I really didn't notice too much of a difference in comfort, although if you're looking for that higher R value, the NeoAir X-Lite may be a better deal because it isn't that much heavier and you are going to get a little bit more warmth out of it. But if you want the lightest pad that they offer in a full-size pad, the UberLite is the way to go, and stuff sack wise, it comes in at about half the size of the X-Lite. So just laying down on this pad for a minute or so, I can already feel the warmth underneath me. That's what's great about having an inflatable pad. I fit on the pad perfectly for what it's cut for. Again, your arms are going to rest off to the side. It's not going to be as wide as some other pads. And then as far as noise goes, you can hear that you do get a little bit of that crinkle, but nothing like some of their other pads. Sitting up with this thing fully inflated, my butt is not going through the pad to the ground. If I bounce, it does, but you do have adequate height here, 2.5 inches, that are going to keep you relatively comfortable for as lightweight as this thing is, and I'm impressed at how well it does perform at how small and light this thing packs away. So I wanted to go ultralight with my sleeping bag as well, and I went with the Therm-A-Rest Hyperion. This is a 32 degree bag. It weighs in at only 1 pound, and again, it was about 40 degrees, and I slept just in shorts, and I was perfectly warm in this bag. I was kind of half in the bag and half out of the bag that night. So 32 degrees, I usually add 10. You know, comfort level, you're going to be at about 42 degrees, and I was perfectly comfortable at 40 degrees. So it's ultralight. Again, it weighs only a pound. Dimensions on it are 28.5 by 80, and again, if you let this thing sit for about half an hour, as with any down bag, it's going to plump up, and that's really the advantage to the down bags, is that they're really light, they're really compressible, but they keep you really warm. The only downside is if you get them wet, they don't dry as well as synthetic materials. However, this does have the a 10D DWR coating on it, and fill wise, it's got a 900 fill goose down with their Nick wax and their hydrophobic down, and it's actually spaced in the bag a little bit differently. So you have 70% of the down on your top and your sides, with the other 30 on the back. And as many of you know, when you're laying in the bag, you're compressing that the air, and you're compressing that fabric and the fill on the bottom, so you're really not gaining much insulation there. And that's why you want to have a decent pad that gives you that airspace that's going to warm up, and it's going to provide you with that insulation. But this thing comes with 2 different stuff sacks, one that you can keep it in at the house, which keeps it in a rather large form, which is what you want to do when you're storing a down bag. Either store it out of the bag or store it in a big fluffy sack. And then of course they give you the travel bag, which is the compressible one that you would take on your backpacking or hiking trips. All Therm-A-Rest bags are built really well. They have good quality materials, good quality zippers. This is my 2nd or 3rd Therm-A-Rest bag. I have a quilt that I keep in the car, one of their tech quilts. So I do like their stuff. Price-wise, you're going to pay a little bit more for it because it is ultralight and it is down. And it's maybe not the most comfortable. It does go to a really tapered edge here. So those of you that don't like a mummy style bag probably aren't going to like this bag. And if you were to go car camping, again, I would probably take a bigger bag just for more comfort. So as with many manufacturers nowadays, they have straps on the back to strap to the pad. I was pretty disappointed with the straps on the Hyperion. First of all, they're really thin. I know they're trying to save weight, but the way that they attach is that they have these little these little plastic T things here, and they clamp in to these little loops sewn on the bag. You could take this off if you wanted to save a few more grams, because in my opinion it didn't really work. I did strap it to this to the UberLite pad, and it was still all over the place. So unlike Big Agnes's system where you actually slide the pad into its own liner, you know, that's going to stay. These clips really didn't work for me. But again, it's something that you're sacrificing when you want to go light and fast. So I had my ultralight pad and my ultralight bag, and one of the nice things that you can do when you cut a bunch of weight out of your pack is take camp comfort, such as this AirHead light pillow from Therm-A-Rest. It's got sort of this suede material on the top. It helps it from sliding around on the pad. I didn't notice it sliding as much as some other pillows that'll just pop right out from underneath you. So that fabric is really nice. It's really nice to lay on as well, and I believe it is removable. Yeah, it is removable, so that you could probably wash this or dry clean it if you wanted to. But this weighs in at 2.7 ounce. It packs down to relatively nothing, and it is made of this 30D. They call it a stretch knit polyester, but it feels and looks more like a suede to me. But anyway, I took this, and so with this system, I was really comfortable. Again, if I'm car camping and I don't care about weight, I'm gonna take a thicker bag. I'm gonna take a thicker pad. I might take a pillow from home, for example. But when you're out there and you're backpacking and you got miles ahead of you and you really wanna cut down the weight in your pack, you cut down the big 3 first. So you cut down your shelter weight, you cut down your sleeping bag or shelter weight, and you also cut down the weight of your actual pack. And good way to start cutting those pounds or cutting those ounces is to go to a much lighter weight down sleeping bag and a much lighter weight pad such as this UberLite. So I want to hear from you. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I do try to answer as many questions and comments as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up for me. Feel free to share it to your friends and family on your social media. And if you're new here or haven't already done so, please click that red subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified of new videos.